When chronic illness takes away the things that once defined you, it can feel like you've lost yourself completely. In today's episode, we're talking about losing identity, redefining meaning, and how meaningful activities, even small ones, can help you discover who you are now. Welcome to this week's episode of The Spoonful Show. I hope you all are having a fantastic Wednesday. Before we dive into this week's topic, I have a question for you. So, what's something you're giving your body today? Are you giving it love, rest, patience, grace? Today, I am giving myself the gift of rest. I had a few busy days the last couple days, and today I am resting without guilt. I am giving my body a chance to recover from all of the things that I've been doing. And I'm letting my body decide what it needs today. If it needs rest all day, then that's what I'm going to give it. If it needs a little bit of movement, then that's what I'm going to give it. So what are you giving your body today? Let me know in the comments. Today's episode is a deeply relatable one, especially if chronic illness has ever made you feel like the version of you that once existed is gone. Today, I am joined by my Spoonie co-host, Kait. You may remember her from episode 23 of the podcast, where she shared her journey with miserable malalignment syndrome. Today, we're talking about what happens when you lose a core part of your identity, whether that's through physical disability or mental cognition, and how meaningful activities can help you rediscover purpose, joy, and the new version of you. This isn't about productivity or pushing through. It's about finding what fills you up in this season of life. Let's get started. Thank you, Kait, for coming on and talking with me today. I'm really excited about this topic, and this was the topic that you came to me with. But first, I want to reintroduce you. Kait was on episode 23 of the Spoonful of Strength podcast, where she came on and talked about her miserable malalignment syndrome. And so, Kait, I'll just have you reintroduce yourself and let us know how things have been going since the last time you were here.
I mean, I've had a lot going on since the last
time.
I didn't even realize, like, it was crazy. I can't believe that much time has passed, first of all.
Yeah.
But since then, I've had 3 surgeries. So that has definitely taken up a lot of my time. I had my last osteotomy. And if you don't remember what an osteotomy is, it's where my tibia was broken and then rotated so it would be straight. So that was probably one of the hardest surgeries I've had, but I'm glad to have that one behind me. And then I had some hardware taken out of my femur. And then after that, I had a shoulder surgery. And that was not really in the plan with my leg situation, but I fell about a year ago and tore my bicep tendon. So it just really needed to get fixed. Yeah. So that's what's been going on with me for the last year.
And remind us, like, miserable malalignment syndrome. I still think that's the worst name but it's probably very appropriate. But for those that don't know what that is, tell us what that is.
It's when the bones in your legs are abnormally rotated. So, like in my case, my femurs, or like the big bone in like your upper leg, mine were pointed inwards. And then my tibias were pointed outwards. So it causes a lot of hip, knee, even ankle pain, sometimes back pain. And that's been something I've been dealing with my whole life, but it got worse when I was an adult, and that's when I was diagnosed.
Mm-hmm. So how close are you? How many more surgeries do you have?
I am hoping I only have one more surgery to take out hardware.
Yeah.
But I've been having some issues with one of my legs again. So I kind of feel like I'm going back to the drawing board a little bit. I,
Mm.
yeah, just needing to make sure that, everything is still okay and where it should be and healed the way that it should be. So fingers crossed it's only one, but I am still like working through some other things too.
Oh my gosh. I can't believe it. This just sounds so painful. So, you and I talked about different topics that we wanted to talk about, and you came to me with the topic that I fell in love with. I think it's going to be really good for the chronic illness community about talking about meaningful activities for discovering who you are after illness. So, what made you decide that that was something that you felt needed to be shared with the chronic illness community?
I mean, well, when I'm thinking about, my personal story and how I like really felt drawn to that, so I like before my diagnosis, I was a runner, and that's kind of just who I always said that I was. Um, like, like in icebreakers, and you're all sitting around, hey, my name is Kate, and
Yeah.
and I always said I am a runner. That's just like how I identify myself as. But with this diagnosis and then going through all of these surgeries, I definitely felt like I lost that because like I haven't been able to run in years. And I had to work really hard at redefining um like what is meaningful to me, and also like coming up with new things. Like I'm not just one thing. I'm not
Mhm.
just a runner, and I'm not just a patient or, like there's so many different aspects of us. And so, yeah, for me, it was really just like learning how to rediscover those. And like, as I'm sure you know, like when you have a diagnosis, it feels like your whole world can kind of just like shift, right?
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
could be, physically, like you're just not feeling the same, or mentally. Um, and those you feel like you lose those parts of you. Um, yeah, and I think that probably like a lot of people with chronic conditions can like relate to that, where they just like they don't feel the same as they used to be, or like are able to
Yeah.
do the things that they used to be able to do.
Yeah. I went through that too. You said something that was really interesting about kind of losing yourself and getting almost your whole life is wrapped up in the chronic illness and the treatments and dealing with all the emotional things. And although if you I can't run right now because of my physical disabilities, but even when I was healthy, I always said if you catch me running, there's probably a bear behind me because I just never ran. But I did have that sort of feeling after I had to stop working because I couldn't do my job at the pace that it needed me to be at. And I lost completely my ideas of who I was and what success meant and what feeling good about myself. And I went through quite a bit of depression because I was like, who am I? Like, who is this person that, I would dwell on the negatives as far as, being a burden to other people and not being able to help financially as much and along with all the chronic illness stuff. And so I feel like that this resonates with a lot of people because you really do lose a lot of you can lose a lot of yourself when your body is causing you to have to stop doing the things that you wanted to do or that you love to do. And so I think that's a really good um it's a really good topic and I'm glad that you brought that to us.
Well, and like you mentioned depression,
Yeah.
and like I totally relate to that. And also like for me too, it came across as like anxiety. Like
Mm,
I didn't know what to do with myself. And especially,
yeah.
like some of these things, like for me, like running was like a coping mechanism. Like that's how I just
Mm,
like I got through all the hard times in my life. And here I am presented with this diagnosis, a really hard time in my life, and I couldn't default to that.
mm,
Um, yeah, just the anxiety of it was really hard. And and stressful. So yeah, I think
Wow.
that's a good point. Like, the mental health part of it too.
Yeah. Yeah. And so how did you deal with that going through your diagnosis and not being able to have that outlet?
Well, to be honest, at first I didn't.
Yeah.
Like I felt like I was just kind of going through the motions of my day and just like not really feeling like I had things to look forward to or that were like really meaningful to me. Um, but then like I started realizing like no, like I like because with a chronic condition or like even when you're going through these like long surgeries and recoveries, like it's a good chunk of your time. It's not that you're just like, right away back into whatever. So I felt like I had to find ways that I could maybe like still channel the things that I love. Like it's just going to look a little different.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like for example, like one thing that I do, like I can't do this right away after my surgeries, but like eventually when I do get a little better, since I can't run, I can get on a stationary bike. Like that's a part of my
Oh,
physical recovery is like getting back to that health. Um, and I honestly, like, I'm on the bike and I don't even know what people think as they're walking past me. But a lot of the time, I'm like in the zone, like, I'm pretending like I'm running and on a trail. And I'm even kind of like moving my arms, like, as I'm
yeah.
pedaling, and I'm just pretending that I'm running and just like going back to that place. And that has been so helpful for me.
Oh
That
my gosh.
visualization.
A lot of people maybe don't understand what meaningful activities are. And so you mentioned, a few things, but uh, for me, I feel like there's a couple different areas for meaningful activities. I think obviously there's physical things that you can do. If you can't run, maybe you walk or you get on the bike, like you said. For me, after a little bit, and I'm talking probably a couple years after having to leave my job, I started working on my creative. I learned from YouTube how to make a wreath, and I made so many that I didn't have any places to put them in my house, and I started selling them. And then I started making like signs and things, and I went probably 3 or 4 years maybe where I sold wreaths and signs. And for me, it was a really good outlet of, again, feeling like, okay, I'm financially helping a little bit. And it was my creative juices going. And I felt important. I had people coming back to me, a few times, to get all their seasonal stuff. And so that really fed my soul for quite a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah.
And then it got to the point where physically I couldn't do it any longer. It was too much of um, having to go to the store a couple times a week, and the pressures of, I wasn't treating myself real well in those times, because when I got an order, I was on it immediately, running to the store, running to the Home Depot and getting wood and all of these things. And I wasn't pacing myself because I was afraid that if I didn't feel good tomorrow, that so there was a lot of sense of urgency, and I just didn't handle it in the way. And so after a couple of years, I was like, I can't keep doing this because it's physically, I can't keep up with it anymore. So that was like another chapter of like shutting that down.
Right.
But obviously, there's other ways with, socially, as far as, meeting with friends or going to chronic illness group meetings. Was that something that helped you, or were there other things that helped you?
Oh yeah, definitely like connecting people like with people in my circle.
Yeah.
Like, I started going to a book club and that was so nice to like have that to look forward to and like a good, group of people that I could
Hmm.
see every week and that has helped me tremendously. Just staying connected because some like, these conditions can feel so isolating at
Yeah.
times. I mean, for
Yeah.
some people, it's completely isolating. I think in my case, like it goes through waves, like because
Hmm.
I'll get better, but then I go in for another surgery, and then so yeah, and like with the book club, it's nice because they could also come to me and I was still getting that connection, no
Oh,
matter
that's
where I
nice.
was at, like in my recoveries. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, I definitely feel like that's important too.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know about you, but especially with some of my cognitive impairments and things, I like to do um games on like my iPad of like, and especially like puzzle games
Mhm.
and just things to kind of keep my brain working. And
Yeah,
that's been something lately. I have a little routine at night where, I in the evening time, and I just have a couple different games, and a lot of them are really, um fun, but also kind of thinking word games and different types of things just to kind of keep my brain, working.
I do that too.
You
I do it
do?
in the morning. Yeah, now it's like it's been my big routine. Like every morning I get up and the first thing I do is I start studying languages, but like on the app, on my phone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, what languages?
Um, German is the one I've actually been learning lately. I think purely like I don't really know why. Like it was because I just wanted a challenge. Like I do review Spanish, but I know Spanish pretty well, so I'm just kind of like doing it to kind of keep up with it,
Mm-hmm.
um, so I don't forget things.
Yeah. Oh
But
my gosh.
yeah, I wanted a challenge and I wanted to keep just learning things, and I'm already starting to think of like, okay, what's the next language I'm going to learn? Like, because
Mm,
that helps. I think too is feeling
yeah.
like you are still learning and like
Mm-hmm.
like the thing about meaningful activities too is like it doesn't have to be productive, but it can be. Like if you
Yeah.
want it to be productive and if you want to learn, like that's great, but it also doesn't have to be. Like it could
Yeah.
be something super simple like going to the next thought of like for me rituals, like that can even be
Yeah.
like a meaningful activity. Um and for me, that's my morning cup of coffee. Like that is my ritual. I
Mm-hmm.
love that. And then here I am with my afternoon cup of tea. Like, and
Yeah.
it's so little and not really productive unless you think, caffeinating yourself is productive then.
No. It's
But
just something to kind of make you feel good.
yeah.
I've got my little rituals as well. Every morning I get up and I take my medicine and let the dogs out and feed them. And then I sit in my recliner for 1 hour. I watch one TV show that I'm into or whatever. And at least one of the dogs will jump up with me, and I've got a heated blanket. And it's just like slowly waking up in the morning and letting my body kind of wake
Yeah.
up at its own pace. And I used to, before, when I was able to, I used to every night take a bath and just read a book or something.
Mhm.
I can't physically get in the tub anymore, and so that was something I had to think of something else. But I also think that you mentioned, productivity and things. I started I started feeling very overwhelmed when you have um an illness like both of us, where it can be physically impairing. Um, a lot of times it's like, okay, well, I would look at my house and I would go, oh my gosh, this house is so messy. I need to do this and this and this and this. And it would give me anxiety. And it's so much harder to start something like that, to start cleaning when you feel overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So I actually found this app. It's called Tody. It's TODY, but you put in everything that you need to do and it breaks it up. And it's kind of even like a game where you'll say, okay, I'm going to vacuum the house. Remind me once a week. And so every morning I get up and I look at my list and it's like 5 or 6 things that I have to clean today. And every time you do one, you check mark it off. Um and so I've been using that for about a month now, and my house is cleaner because it's not so overwhelming. It's like
Right.
I all I have to do is these 5 things, and as long as I stay on track, and I don't stay on track all the time, it's got like a little dust bunny, and it'll tell you if the dust bunny's winning or whatever. But it's just something to make so that I can still feel like I'm keeping my house clean without having, it takes away the thinking of what do I have to do. And so for me, that's a way I can be productive and feel good about myself, but also it's fun and it's just not so overwhelming.
Yeah, and it's a nice pacing tool, it
Yeah.
seems. Because I don't know about you, but like if I see one thing that needs to get done, then I just start going down the rabbit hole. It's like, okay, well then this needs to be done. And then it's really hard for me to like once I start to stop. And then I end up in a lot of pain.
Yeah. And that's what I would do is I would do way too much. And then the next 2 days I couldn't clean anything. And then it just starts building up. And then you're back in that idea of like, oh, this is so overwhelming. There's so much to do. Where now I'm like, okay, I vacuumed today. It's off my list. It sometimes I think it feels good to have like a list where you can like check mark something off and it makes you feel good that you got stuff done.
Right.
You know, but so I mean, yeah, meaningful activities can certainly be productive, but they certainly don't need to be. It's just the idea of something that feeds your soul, and even like self-care, you know, going out and buying, you know, maybe you're stuck at home a lot, but maybe going and getting, you know, some skincare or something like that, just to treat yourself. And even though you're not getting up and going out to a job 9 to 5, but just, you know, putting the makeup on and things like that, that make you feel good about yourself.
I mean, yeah, it's so like individual, you know, everybody has their own, like, I mean, we could talk about like what makes us feel good, but like at the end of the day, it's what, you know, whatever anybody else feels too. Like it's, yeah, it could be anything.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it.
Are you looking for merch that speaks to your truth and makes you laugh? SpoonFull of Strength has you covered, literally. From t-shirts and hoodies to mugs and magnets, every design is made for the chronic illness community with heart, humor, and a whole lot of strength. Funny? Check. Inspirational? You bet. Illness specific? Absolutely. And the best part? I can personalize any design or create a custom shirt for you for no extra charge. So whether you're laughing through the pain or wearing your diagnosis with pride, our designs are funny, fierce, and illness specific, because being chronically ill doesn't mean being chronically boring. So if you want a sweatshirt that gets you, head to spoonfulofstrength.etsy.com. Now that's spoonful with 2 L's. Use code podcast for 20% off your entire cart.
What do you think as far as somebody who is stuck maybe in that, you know, where you and I have been, maybe they've been diagnosed and they're so wrapped up in everything, they're starting to lose some things that maybe they can't do anymore. What are some suggestions as far as finding meaningful activities? Do you think that it's something of actually trying to go out and find meaningful activities? Or do you think sometimes it's just looking inward and saying, what are the meaningful activities that I already do?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you my process. Again, I think it could vary, but you know, between people and how they come to finding their meaningful activities. But like for me, like my first step was being able to acknowledge that there are other meaningful activities in my life, like because I was very stuck in that, like, nope, this is what I want to do. But yeah, so like step one for me was awareness. Like, okay, like there has to be more. There is more, because we're not made up of just one thing. And then for me, I like once I was aware of that, I like started to reflect on what it is that brings me joy and fulfillment in life. And again, like for me, that started like, and I'm thinking like early in my surgeries, right? Where I'm not moving from bed and I'm not doing much. Like for me, that started with a cup of coffee. Like that was just the best part of my day. And like, yeah, once I realized that was meaningful in itself, like I felt like I could start kind of adding on other things too. And then like going beyond just like, okay, what makes me feel good? Like what also gives me that sense of purpose, you know? And I personally feel like my sense of purpose right now is like through journaling and writing. Like I love to just like write and reflect on the things that I'm going through or topics that are running through my mind. And like that for me has helped me stay connected, like not only to myself, like who I am today, but also who I was before my surgeries too.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, I think like also like working on finding ways to stay connected to the things that you love, like I mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
It just might look a little different. Like, you know, maybe you like at this moment you can't do a certain sport, but like maybe you can volunteer in some way so you're still like involved in it somehow. Um, or, you know, like my running and bike example.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then I think too, another thing that I have dealt with is like the acceptance piece of it, or
Mm-hmm.
I don't even want to pretend that like I've totally accepted it. Like it's something that I'm still working on. Like it's okay to let those older versions of yourself go. Like you don't, like if it's something that like doesn't serve you anymore, like it's okay. Um, but just like also know that this is like the opportunity to, you know, think about other things that you might really enjoy in life too. I think it's really important to reframe it as like not losing a part of yourself, but rediscovering yourself.
Mm, that's
And
true. Yeah.
also remembering that these activities like change depending on your season of life or your symptoms too.
Right. It doesn't all have to happen. You don't have to make a decision. These are my meaningful activities and I'm going to have them forever. But as physical capabilities and things like that, you know, and always looking for new opportunities and new things that bring you joy, I think is really important. So you said something and it passed right out of my head. Oh, you said something interesting as far as finding like your purpose, and that was something that I struggled with a lot of like, what am I here for? You know, what, like, is my life just waking up every day and sitting in the recliner watching TV and doing, you know, doing doctor's appointments and all of these things? Like, what am I supposed to do when the things that I enjoyed so much have been taken away from me?
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, we've talked about that on the podcast before of finding your purpose. And it sounds like a really big idea. But I think that bringing in some of the meaningful activities and finding the things that bring you joy, you never know when that's going to turn out to be something that is going to create something you can't even imagine. I mean, gosh, if you would have told me 3 years ago I'd be hosting a podcast, I'd be like, yeah, right. You know?
That's the perfect example too.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you started there thinking that like you might just be in the recliner, right?
Yeah.
And like look at what you've done in those you know over the last 3 years. Like it's like that's incredible.
It's thank you. Um it's I think it just started with little steps. I mean, I didn't create this to, you know, it wasn't even on my radar. It was just me feeling very lonely and feeling very lost and not having somebody around me that knew what I was going through and felt the way that I felt, and creating the Spoonful of Strength community and finding people out there and going, oh my gosh, you know, she needs to tell her story. And we need to talk about this more, because you would see so many people that really struggled with chronic illness. And so it's like one baby step after another that can lead to something great. And you also said something about, you know, creating the new you, and and maybe not looking at it like I'm not that person anymore. I can't do the things I used to, but also going, well, wait, this is an opportunity that I can create a new version of myself.
Right.
And there are things that I can't do, but gosh, look at the things I can do, and
Right.
finding the things that bring you joy, and just feeling as if it's just the new version of you. And that could be exciting if you kind of get your headspace in the right direction.
Definitely.
You know?
Well, and like, as difficult as these conditions have been, right, for all of us, like, it also, like, I felt like it gave me the time and the space to, like, yeah, think about, like, the different parts of me, like,
Mm-hmm.
and to become more well-rounded, because, like, I was focusing all my time on exercise, but now, like, I'm finding other things too. And, like, I don't know if I would have had that opportunity if I didn't have miserable malalignment syndrome, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I'd probably be working 60, 70 hours a week, running here and there, and not stopping. And I really appreciate the fact that now I can really pause and enjoy the things that are happening around me that I probably would have missed,
Right.
a couple of years ago if I hadn't been diagnosed with MS.
Right.
So, yeah. Wow. It was a good conversation. I think it caused me to kind of reflect a little bit, because even now sometimes I get overwhelmed, and so even thinking about this conversation, I was like, what are some things that I actually do that are meaningful? And sometimes you have to stop and like refresh and just say,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, I get to do this, and I get to, relax and sit with my doggies on in the mornings and just enjoy it and kind of see how my body's going to feel today, and all of those things, and just being grateful for the opportunities that you have. And
Right.
even though we're all dealing with the beast that is chronic illness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Absolutely.
If you could leave us with one thing, one piece of advice, what would that be?
I think it would be that living with a chronic condition can make you feel like you are losing parts of yourself, or, the certain parts are slipping away. And that can be a really difficult feeling. But, like, even the small, meaningful activities throughout your day, the ones that, like, provide you joy and help you feel like you have a sense of purpose, that can help you reconnect with yourself in ways that help you to honor where you're at right now in your life.
Perfectly said. Perfect. Thank you so much for, number one, coming up with this topic, and talking about it, but for being with me here today. And I really appreciate it. For those that aren't familiar with Kait, again, go back and listen to episode 23 of the SpoonFull of Strength podcast, where she talks about her story with miserable malalignment syndrome. But also, where can everybody follow you online?
I'm on Instagram at aligned K and then the number 8. I haven't been as active on there, but I plan on starting to do that again. Last year was just really difficult.
Yeah. We all go through those seasons of where everything's crazy and everything happens all at once, and all of that. But we'll make sure and tag it in the description and in the Instagram so that everybody can follow you for all the great advice that you've given us today. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
If there's one thing that I hope that you take away from this episode, it's this. Losing your identity doesn't mean that you've lost yourself. It means that you're evolving. Meaningful activities don't have to be big, impressive, or productive. They just have to matter to you. And even in seasons where your body limits you, your ability to find meaningful connection and joy still exists. I want to thank Kait for joining me today and reminding us that discovering the new you can be just as powerful as who you used to be. Thank you for saving some spoons to be with me today. Until next time, take care.
Thank you for listening to The Spoonful Show. Follow the podcast so you never miss an episode. Leave a rating, review, and comment. Connect with me on Instagram at Spoonful of Strength and TikTok at spoonful.of.strength. Remember, that's spoonful with 2 L's. Shop customized t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, mugs, and more on our Etsy shop at spoonfulofstrength.etsy.com and use code podcast for 20% off your entire cart.